Hey, it's Job. This is part 2 of my weekly insert flip through. If you missed part 1, click the little eye icon that will pop up on the screen right now and you can watch part 1 first. But before we start part 2, I just have a few housekeeping things to mention. Basically, I have a 30k giveaway happening on Instagram, so if you want to win a regular size Camel Traveler's Notebook, please go to my Instagram and join that giveaway. Thank you so much for all your support. It means the world to me, but now, let's talk about the flip through that's happening on the screen right now. So we left off on this spread. This was the Garden of Morning Calm weekly spread, so we're going to talk about the next spread. I actually liked how this next spread turned out. It's quite simple, but I don't think the mood of this spread actually captures what happened that week. So this was a really difficult week for me because my landlord was, I think there was some miscommunication, but my landlord basically said that they were going to be selling the apartment and I didn't know if I had to move out, so there was a lot of miscommunication because my Korean isn't that great. I can do conversational Korean. I can get by, but I'm not fluent in Korean at all. So it was a little bit daunting to try and make sense of what was happening that week. I didn't end up moving, but I had to actually move a few of my stuff because they gave me a new kitchen, so that was kind of cool. But overall, this spread is really bright and happy, even though I was really anxious. I think I even scripted out the word anxious at the bottom of the page. And it was also Miguel, or Miggy, who is a cup and pages on Instagram and one of my best friends. It was his birthday, and it was also my mom's birthday that week. So I guess the beginning part of the week was a lot happier, but I think in the middle of the week, that's when the anxiety started rising. But let's move on to the next spread. So I was contemplating if I should show the next spread because I'm kind of embarrassed by it, but here it is. Basically, I misspelled the word finished and I spelled it out without the H, so it says finished, which doesn't make sense, but basically I was referring to my favorite coffee that I finished that week. It is this Timber Train coffee from Vancouver, and whenever my friends or family come to Korea, they always bring me some of this coffee, which I love, but I think I finished my last stash of that coffee that week. And I also went to Daegu that weekend, which is a different province or city in Korea. Is it a seaside city? I'm not sure, but it's a pretty major city, and I spent the weekend there. We had some good ramen, and I was supposed to go to a flower festival that weekend, but I was feeling horrible on Sunday and I didn't end up going, but my friends ended up going. But yeah, this spread is not as colorful as the other ones, but I still really like it. I like how I stamped Daegu and I basically used that location marker stamp that I had, which is one of my favorites. But let's move on to the next spread. So this next spread is pretty similar to the ones that came before it. I used my Aquash brush pen filled with Sumi ink to do some brush lettering. I didn't work on that Monday, so that was nice, and I didn't leave the apartment that weekend since I did go out the previous weekend. I just stayed at home and did some introverting, so I watched some movies, some TV shows, read some books, obviously did some journaling and art, and did some painting, and it was just a very, very calming weekend. But I like this spread because I was using a lot more of the stickers that I've been hoarding, because I have a few Traveler's Company or Traveler's Factory stickers lying around, and I finally used them and I wasn't hoarding them, so that was nice. But let's move on to the next spread. So honestly, all of these spreads have been looking the same because I've been doing the same thing. I've been using my Aquash brush pen and basically scripting out some vocal words for each day. But I think this spread is a little bit different because on Saturday I went to the Coldplay concert, and since the album art for A Head Full of Dreams is rainbow themed, I scripted out the word Coldplay in rainbow colors, and I think that really made that pop out of the spread. But basically it's pretty standard looking spread. I did a lot of journaling on Monday, and on Thursday I almost got stranded on an island, but I think the story's too long to explain, so we'll just brush that over. I know you're probably all wondering why I got stranded at an island, but let's move on. Let's move on to the next spread. So this next spread is a little bit all over the place, but I like it. I basically didn't do a lot of journaling, but instead I added a lot of different elements and brush lettering elements to the spread. So I used this giant sticker that says "Around the World in 80 Mysteries," which I guess is a play on "Around the World in 80 Days." And then I scripted out the word "exhausted" and "April showers" and "tiring day" and "rest" with my aquash brush pen. And I used this little calendar sheet that came with my tearaway calendar sheet, and it has the whole month of April on it, which is kind of cool. And then I have a little stamp, I think it's a Canadian stamp, I'm not quite sure, at the top corner of the left page. And yeah, I went a little bit washi crazy, but I think it's a nice change from all the spreads that came before it. I'm not going to talk about this spread for too long because I actually have a plan with me video for this, so click the little eye that will pop up on the top right corner of the screen to watch that video, but don't watch it right now, watch it after you finish this video. Okay, let's move on to the next spread. I really like this spread because it really reminds me of the time when my friends Miggy and Jared were still in town. So during this week we visited Shake Shack on Tuesday. All of us had headaches that day, and after we had Shake Shack we were cured. That's why it says Shake Shack cures headaches. And yeah, this was a really fun week. They've never had a taste of Korean nightlife, so we tried to go out that night, but a lot of things happened. We didn't make it to the club, but I don't want to share that story because it was a little bit embarrassing. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking about that before I say something embarrassing. And then on Sunday we had hot pot. I think it was our last full date together, so I treated them out to unlimited hot pot. So there's all you can eat beef and vegetables, and there's a buffet. It was really fun, and we went shopping in Myeongdong. I think we went to Myeongdong like every other day, which is a big shopping and tourist area district in Seoul. And yeah, we just had a fun week. That's why I really like this spread, because it just takes me back to that time. And I followed this green and yellow spread. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Miguel or Miggy's favorite color is green. And does Jared like yellow? No, his favorite color is purple, but I digress. Let's move on to the next spread. On Monday, Miggy and Jared went back to Vancouver. I went back to my tiny town. And on Tuesday, it was election day here in Korea. Hence that yellow peace sign looking sticker. That's actually the sticker for the 2017 elections here in Korea. And on the weekend, I basically just stayed at home. I had an introverted weekend. I watched a whole bunch of movies, caught up on my TV shows, journaled, painted. It was just a very relaxing weekend, and I used this pink flower petal washi that I've used before. Every time I use this, I feel like I'm just throwing away money because that washi tape was almost 8,000 won, which is almost $8, which is crazy for a washi tape. I feel like that's just really expensive for a washi tape, but it's really cool looking. But let's move on to the next spread. So this next spread is a little bit more exciting because my olive edition traveler's notebook came in the mail that week. On Wednesday, or no, is it Tuesday? On Wednesday, my olive edition came in the mail. Basically, Miggy sent it over from Vancouver. He purchased one for me there because all of the ones in Korea were sold out at the moment, and I didn't want to wait until July or June to get it. So I asked him to buy one for me at Paperia, which is one of my favorite stores in Vancouver, and he purchased one for me and sent it over. You all know how I feel about the olive edition. It's amazing. I have a video on it, so I'll link it up in the description box below or in the cards. And I also watched a soccer game that weekend. It was the FIFA under 20 soccer game, and it was amazing. It was my first soccer game here in Korea, and it was the opening game. So for the FIFA under 20 World Cup series, that was the first game of the whole series. So there was a little opening ceremony, there was a small K-pop group that performed, and there was a whole bunch of festivities. It was super cool and very hyped. Watching sporting events in Korea is really cool. There's a lot of chanting and there's a lot of songs, which is always fun. Yeah, and I had a great time. Let's move on to the next spread before I fanboy over the soccer game even more. This next spread shows you how much of a traveler's notebook fanatic I am, because the next week I also got a new traveler's notebook. That's when my blue edition traveler's notebook came in the mail. I love it. You all know how I got this in my hands. Basically, I broadcasted it to the internet that I wanted one, and a kind person named Lynn sent it over to me, and I got it at a very reasonable price. She also sent over some Swedish candy candy, which was delicious. And I think this whole spread has a very Swedish vibe to it because of that yellow post-it and all the blue in it. And also that Pan Am sticker has some blue and yellow, so I think it ties the spread quite nicely. Let's move on. So I think you've probably noticed, but my speech is getting a lot faster because this video is getting pretty long. I'm not going to talk about this spread too much because I have a journal with me, or plan with me, or no, it's a journal with me. I have a journal with me for this spread, so as always, I will link it in the description bar and in the cards. So yeah, let's move on to the next spread. This is a cool spread though. Maybe I should talk about... Now let's move on. So this next spread is very similar to the one before it, but I focused on using oranges, browns, reds, and pinks in the spread, and it gives it a very warm tone feel to it, which is cool. I had no work on Tuesday because it was Memorial Day. On Friday I went to Gunsan. It was just a day trip, but I met with a friend there and we just explored Gunsan, which is a city nearby where I live, and I'm channeling Rihanna again with the work. I don't know why I'm doing that, but it's just so catchy. And then on Friday it says solo dance party. I think everyone in their 20s did that at some point. If you're living alone, you've probably danced in your apartment or your house. I'm not gonna lie, it's super fun, one of my favorite activities. But let's move on to the next spread because I don't think you need to hear about my solo dance parties. So I'm gonna go a little bit faster. This spread is basically a tribute to the airmail package that Momo sent me. So I tried to only use the things that Momo sent me in her little airmail package. I used some of the stickers, some of the washi tape, some of the stamps, and I even tore off this little postage stamp or postage sticker, airmail sticker that came with the package, and it has some Japanese on it. I actually don't know what it means or what it says, but my favorite thing on this spread is the Tuesday portion of the spread where I was just writing all my feelings down in a very repetitive way. So it just says nah, and nope. I basically had a bad Tuesday, and I really like that because it just is a very graphic way to explain how annoyed I was that Tuesday. But let's move on to the next spread. I think I'm just gonna count to 5 and then we'll move on because I have a video on this, and you know the drill. It's in the description bar and in the cards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, next spread. So we are at the end of this flip through. This is the last spread, and it is a very festive spread because it was Canada Day on Saturday, and I went up to Seoul to meet up with my Canadian friends, and we just had a blast. We visited Incheon, which is a nearby city near Seoul, and we tried watermelon naengmyeon, which is a cold noodle dish that is served in a watermelon. It's super random. It's a little bit weird, but it was delicious. It's a famous spot to check out if you're in Incheon, and a lot of people go there, and it was pretty cool trying it out. And we also went to Chinatown, and it was such a great week, and I tried to incorporate as much red into the spread, but I think I did more journaling in the spread instead of brush lettering because I had I'm not making sense anymore. I had a lot to write about, and I'm losing my voice and my train of thought, so I'm gonna end this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. I know these 2 videos have been very long and rambly. Thank you for sticking through it and watching. I'm sure that the next video will be really fun because I have something special for our 20th journal with me. I hope you enjoy it. And one more reminder, what did I have to say? Oh yeah, join the giveaway if you want to win a free Camel Traveler's Notebook. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!